He's a hustler, unbreakable, a people's person, and a future billionaire. This is The Hustler's Corner with Sbu Soliope, well known to you and I as DJ Sbu.
Mr. Chauke.
Hello, I've been here.
How you doing?
To the whole thing. So it was.
Oh, have you been listening?
I've been listening. I've been here from just 3 minutes before 7. I've been always told that I must be on time. So I listened to the whole thing. I was also part of the meditation. I heard all the food. Thank you for vegetables. Thank you for fruit. Thank you for the sound of the bird. So I was in there. Thank you so much for having me. And you are so kind. I think all those lovely things you said about me are incredibly humbling, because I just believe that I'm still on a journey to do so much more, and I'm really humbled and encouraged to hear how you think and how you feel about me. I appreciate that.
And thank you, Sylvester. I love what we are all doing. We're all in our own lanes, but we're all part of a silent community, and I look at us and I'm like, when we are 70, 80 years old, and we've got great-grandchildren, our businesses are all big. There's so many stories we're all going to share because we are all walking this journey together. But I think what I like about us, Sylvester, is that we are not ignorant that we've got younger guys that are looking at us, that are coming after us. And I love the role that even if we're figuring out this entrepreneurship journey for ourselves, which is difficult to do, but we're thriving and we're doing it. I love the fact that we are walking with other people hand in hand. We're not ignorant about our brothers and sisters. Now, coming back to you, you're saying you are listening to affirmations, and I want us to start there. How does Sylvester's normal day start? My one starts with, you heard. I mean, I'm now sharing with my followers. Some young followers probably don't know this type of information, but that's how I start my day, my meditation, my prayer, and my affirmations, etc. How does Sylvester start his day? And what is your typical day like?
Generally, I always make sure that I start with a really good base of good energy, because already, as you can imagine, there's always a lot to do in a day. So I always try to center myself. And so when I wake up in the morning, I generally will have a cup of coffee that I get from my husband without fail if I'm at home. And then I will just stay up on my bed and do my reading. I've got a couple of things that I read, my affirmations that I go through every morning, which also include a kind of a inspirational force of the day, and things that center me around just me getting into the day. So by the time I get into the shower, I'm already pumping my music. I'm listening to a mix of Joy Celebration, Madonna, and a whole lot of different things that that excite me. People are saying that they can't see me.
They can't see you. I don't understand, because I can see you well. I think people who can't see you are the people that I have here on this phone, which is my Facebook Live. Right? Okay. They can see you on Instagram. These are my Facebook guys. They can't see you. And those are my YouTube guys. They can't see you. But we're going to edit this video with the YouTube one and put it up on our YouTube page.
Okay, perfect.
But for now, just for the immediate sharing of content for my followers, that's how I've got my Facebook Live and the Instagram Live there.
Yes, they say they can see me now because I think you have the phone and you are showing them, so that's really good. Okay. So by the time I get into the shower, I'm already pumping up my music, because I am a very musical person. I really love what music can conjure in one's mind and in one's soul. So it sets me up for a very cool, morning. And I get into the car, drive to the office, and then I guess as you know, then the diary, sessions, meetings, presentations, and just keeping the business going in that way. I spend a lot of my time in boardrooms. I spend a lot of time with my team as well, ideating around coming up with different solutions. But on the whole, it's a day that has got lots of questions, and that needs lots and lots of answers from me as a leader or an organization. So it takes a toll on you, and that's why a good start is critical.
I like that. That's incredible. Guys, I hope you guys are learning. There's a reason why I'm asking such a question. It's very important. On how you start your day pretty much sets the tone for the rest of the day. And how you start your Monday morning sets the tone for the rest of the week. And I think entrepreneurs will tell you, a lot of us be part of the 5 a.m. club. Some of us will be part of the 4 a.m. club. And if you want to become successful, you can't become successful if you don't operate like that. There's something about the universe and energy in the morning. And there's just something inspiring about getting your day started in the early hours of the morning and doing the right things to get your mental state in order. And I love the fact that Sylvester is sharing similar things that he does, his routines, which are almost similar to mine. It shows you that a lot of us, we've got our own ways in how we lead our lives. Now let's come into your story.
Actually, if I can, there's also like an element of, it doesn't have to be a 5 a.m. or a 6 a.m. or a 4 a.m. or whatever time that, works for you. Because, for an example, I am a late night person. I work really late and I work well when it's quiet in the wee hours of the morning. So I'm not a 5 a.m. club or 4 a.m. club person. But, when I do get up, I absolutely follow a routine. And I also think that it's also the how you end the day as well. So I find that before going to bed, I also do spend a couple of moments just reflecting on the day. I also have some kind of prayers and meditation around that area. And I go to bed with some specific thoughts and ideas. Because also how you end is also cool. And it's critical to then almost set up for what I'm going to dream about and and trying to convince the universe to send me some ideas and things like that. Yeah.
And Sly, they always say it's even greater to do your affirmations when you're going to bed, because all those hours that you'll be sleeping, God will be doing the work in your subconscious mind,
Yeah, I find that both of them, they work really well. And I find that if I haven't done a focus in the morning, it shows up in my day, because my day will be a little bit unbalanced and it feels weird. So doing it, time and time again has helped to almost settle the day a little bit more intentionally. And I find that it makes me feel much more in control of what I control.
Yeah. And let's talk about your story, though. And let's build context for those people who don't know you. What is your story?
Yeah, my story is simple. And like most young people growing up in the township, you grow up and you are so desperate to make something of yourself. And not for the sake of yourself, but for the sake of your family. I grew up frustrated in the township, and I wanted to help my mom and dad, help my family situation, and really do something, of myself. So over time, I have tried to get interested in so many different things that have almost helped me along the way. So growing up in dance classes, dance clubs in the township, across a number of different clubs, I would be very involved with stuff after school. I was just always interested in things that hopefully were going to show me something new and something that helped me to get to a better place. And so with my inquisitiveness and energy of wanting to find things out, I found myself one day in an audition for a TV commercial. So I got money for a taxi fare to go to Rosebank for an audition for a TV ad. And
was it casting directed?
It was casting directed. The ad was casting directed. And I just went, how it's like. I mean, I'm schooled from the township. I'm not like any of those kids that were actually on the queue for the audition. And so I felt it.
Sometimes, sorry to come in. Sometimes you're standing in a queue, you're seeing a famous face, you're like, what is this person doing here?
Exactly. And also I'm 12 years old, so I actually don't really know, what to do. So I remember I walked into the room and they said, give us your profile. Show left, and luckily I remember that.
Yeah.
So you're going to do left, show left profile, and then you're going to show your right profile. And then they said, smile and do something goofy. So I just went, and then they said, what's your name? I said, Sylvester Chauke. Then they said, thank you. That's all. They said, thank you. then I was like, oh, okay, this is it. How will they know? I mean, how much did they get to see me? But anyway, to cut a long story short, I was then called back and I got the part. And I was then, on the following week, I was on a set for a TV commercial for CNA Back to School. And I was then in a set environment, and I saw the whole production, and I was completely surprised by this whole new world that I was never really told about and that I didn't know about. And that really got me very interested in this world. And I asked a few questions that led me to advertising. We're producing an ad to sell a product and a service. And then I went to study advertising at UJ and marketing, brand communication. And I got into advertising. Worked in advertising for a lot of my career. At Ogilvy, at FCB, at DDB, and then I went to work at Nando's as the national marketing manager, looking after the brand, and the brand advertising. And
what brand is that? So I didn't hear the one.
Nando's.
Oh, Nando's. Okay, yeah, they're amazing.
That's it. I worked at Nando's in marketing, and worked in that business for 4 years, and really sunk my teeth into it, and did phenomenally well. Went to work at MTV Networks as the director of marketing and communications after that, and then I started DNA Brand Architects 8 years ago.
You're very brave. How did you start it, bro?
Why?
How did you start it? Because I know it's difficult to start a company.
It actually, I must say that the advertising industry access and process to get in is actually not really that difficult. It's not, you don't need a lot of things. I need a computer, I need a good mind, and a good ideas and good thinking. So I was lucky also because for me, I had been working as director of marketing for a number of years before that, and at Nando's, and I had created some form of a reputation around brand communication. So I was able to then walk into a couple of clients and tell them I could offer them some good advertising and good marketing or good communication ideas, which was really the case. I had saved up quite a bit before that as well, because I knew that going into entrepreneurship, you can't have too many people that you owe, so you can't have too much debt. And so I had really gotten rid of all those Edgar's accounts and all those funny, credit cards and things like that. So that I could able to get into this, get into this process more without having too much to worry about. So it was a tough start. It was a very, very tough start, I have to say. But in hindsight, a necessary way to start a business.
Why risk and start a business when your friends, when you could have followed your peers and went the corporate route? Why did you get into entrepreneurship?
I have to say, I didn't think I was an entrepreneur in a traditional sense. I knew that I was a businessman, and I knew that I would be good working in a corporate environment, supporting a business. But over time, I had built up enough confidence to see what I think can be done in the market in a way that I think could be better than how I'm seeing it being done. So that was really the opportunity. I could see the challenges that most brands were facing, and also perhaps there wasn't a clear-cut solution to how brands were communicating with the market. And I felt that there was no agency at the time who understood that. And I felt maybe there was a voice, maybe there was something I could add. And with my experience at Nando's and at MTV and at agencies, I felt I had enough experience to contribute. Also, there aren't enough black agencies. There aren't enough black-owned agencies in South Africa. We don't have enough of those businesses that are in this space. And I think that was necessary, that there should be more black agencies, more black-owned agencies in a country that services over 75% of black consumers.
Advertising / marketing in the digital age.
It is a very obvious and a almost a necessary space, and we've seen it that ultimately media shifts based on platforms that can engage with the consumers that we're trying to reach. And in the digital age, we know that our consumer base are definitely going into digital platforms in numbers. And as a result, we all have to be able to manage and communicate in those platforms. And we all need to know how to work in those platforms in order for us to reach our customers. Because our customers are moving away from those traditional platforms of television and newspapers and magazines, and they really are playing on TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn, and Instagram and Twitter and all those platforms that have become almost natural for them to engage on.
Knowing what you know now, what advice do you give to young people that are passionate about getting brand building, advertising, sorry?
I think that what's actually important is that the industry, and I'll speak on industry and then speak on the business itself, just a job in an agency world. The industry needs a lot more Black people in it. Because one of the challenges we are facing is that the advertising and the communication that we are seeing out in the market is not necessarily well reflected in who we are as Black people of South Africa, for an example, or as Black people on the African continent. And I think that's also because the people that are creating the advertising are not necessarily people who understand the market as effectively as I believe we do as Black people. So there's a need for the industry to really take heed on the manifestation or even the stimulation of Black people in the industry itself. And then when it comes to actual people, young people going into advertising, we need them. We need them so desperately in droves because, the industry is so small. It's a tight industry that controls the entire country. We shape how people consume products and services and what really becomes popular culture. And I think that we need a huge sense of them. So if you are there and if you want to get into the advertising industry, I'd say please raise your hand and get into it because we do need that. And of course, if you're going to be starting a business within this, this industry, I'd say join industries, join agencies, learn from them, and of course, learn how to do things your own way in a different way. I've seen a lot of questions in my career, and particularly, in the last couple of years, young people just want to start the businesses without necessarily having the skill set and the knowledge and the experience that is needed for you to be able to be successful in that business. And I always advise that if you can work for a big agency and learn from it, please go and do that. If you can work for a medium-sized agency and learn from it, it's very important for you to know how to run and to work in a business like that before you are able to start one. Because I think the lessons are profound and they come in very handy when you've started working.
The media is a very powerful tool, and you just said that a lot of the campaigns the advertising will dictate popular culture, and that is what it's not a lot of people that are aware of that, right? Excuse me. That is a very important part of culture and of our history and heritage that we're not taking advantage of as abantu abamnyama. That's why we sometimes, when you watch ads, you are dissatisfied about how Black people are represented, right?
Yeah.
So I guess that's some of the reasons why you would want more Black ownership, etc. But I do know also, and I like the fact that you're emphasizing having to work first for someone as a young person, because that advice is very practical to a lot of young people. Most probably you'll get lucky and get a job, or intern first and get into an agency. Don't force to want to start without the skill set and the knowledge, etc. As he was saying, learn. And then you can start your own thing. I only started Massive Metro 3 years ago, but I've been working for other radio stations pretty much all my life. I guess that's exactly what you're saying, right?
And that's exactly what I'm saying. I think in working and in starting a business, you also need to have served businesses. And in that way, you also get to learn how businesses operate. And also, what's beautiful is that you also get to see what is good, what is not good. Or, I can imagine when you started Massive Metro, you said, I want a different kind of energy in the studio. So I remember when I came to your show, and I walked in, and it's like a powerful that no other station actually has. So it's a good example of, it took your understanding of the industry and your understanding of broadcasting and radio, and then you were able to infuse your own twist to it. I'm a big supporter of work for an agency, learn from an agency, learn from other people, be a scholar in that area, and then you will know when you are right to be able to ensure that when you start your business, that it also has a framework and has a foundation that you can learn from.
A lot of people are very negative to what's going on. People are scared. People are fearing for their lives. Some people are, losing their jobs. Some people are getting their businesses shut down. What advice would you have for those youngsters that had started businesses, or those that are running businesses, or those that are employed or unemployed, but who are seeing an opportunity in this digital era, especially since this lockdown? A lot of brains are running right now all over the world. But what are the most practical things for our young people in our country right now in South Africa as far as the internet is concerned?
Yes, I think that, there are two things, in fact, that I really have seen in the last couple of weeks, particularly in the challenge that we're experiencing. On the one hand is the fact that if you are an entrepreneur today, you have this emotional challenge. There's an emotional burden on you right now because you are concerned about, your revenues. You're concerned about your margins at this time. You're concerned about, keeping your team and things like that. And I think from an emotional perspective, and much like what we spoke about earlier on, to be emotionally stable, master your faith and your space and get your emotional side a lot more. Give it love, spend time praying and thinking and dreaming and just don't really stop that energy. And then on the other hand, there are two things, good opportunities that are happening around what the new business model is going to be going forward. And I know I've been running DNA for 8 years, and already I know for me that there are changes I need to make in my business already. I've identified that there are so many areas of waste. So you need to review your income, review where you're getting your money, review where you are spending your money, and try to minimize the areas that are not necessarily good investment back or good contribution back into the business. And I find that that's been something that has been quite key, is what are the key areas that are going to help you to become or to build a much better business going forward. If you can look at cutting back in some key areas, this is the time for you to cut back. So we can't always, we can't go through this challenge right now and come out of it exactly the same. I think there has to be a real look of your model, a real look of your business, and interrogate it. Ask difficult questions, because this is an opportunity for us to make our businesses stronger. So making it stronger, it might mean that you've got too many people. It might mean that you need to relook your suppliers. It might mean that you need to relook your costs. You might relook your rent. You might relook the operation costs in your business. And I can tell you that since the lockdown, I have identified so many key areas that I have been wasting time and money on, because I now have to be much tighter in the way that I approach this difficult time, because our clients are affected. Therefore, I also need to be able to make some adjustments. So I would say this is a good time to relook your model. It's a good time to strengthen it, to tighten it up, because if you don't do it, you might actually jeopardize what your next couple of months are going to look like.
How do I find a mentor online? And what type of a relationship should a young person have with their mentor? And the reason I'm asking that second question, which is, question B, is that a lot of young people go about it wrong. The other day I was speaking about their behavior and attitude, like a simple thing like having to ask your mentor for money, or a simple thing like the way you speak. Some of them have got swear words, or the way they carry themselves around mentors or their leaders or people that can help them grow. And I'd like for you to touch on that a bit.
I think that mentorship, and I'll use my own process. It doesn't mean that it's the perfect process, but it's worked for me. I think we need to relook the idea of mentorship as a traditional, I have someone who I speak to on a weekly basis in an office to discuss my challenges I'm experiencing at work, which is a traditional way of looking at a mentor. So I sit with you and you help me with, the questions that I have. I think what I have done is that I have looked at men and women in my industry, past and present, who are doing good work. And I follow them and I read everything they write. I read all their books that they have. I read recommendations that they give on interviews like these, for an example. So I have almost expanded my numbers of mentors by just choosing people that I believe I look up to and follow them and learn from them in that way. So you then have multiple networks of mentors that you are learning from indirectly. So for me, that's like the first thing is that I have many mentors that are Bob Iger, who is the CEO of Disney. I've never met, but I follow and I read on them, and everything they put up, I go onto it, and I learn so much from that relationship. And I think that's such a good way of mentorship because it's available, because you have access to it on YouTube, on books, on articles, online, without having to sit down with them and say, please be my mentor. Because I think that has helped me so much, because then I have access to, if I want to learn about business, I go to Bob Iger. If I want to learn about presentation and communication, I used to go to Steve Jobs pages and read all his books and alignment. If I want to know about the hustle, I follow DJ Sbu and I hustle and I see how he does it. So mentorship is not just a traditional sense of sitting down. It can also be many people that you learn from who you don't have access to, but can absolutely give you so many lessons without having to sit down with them. And I think we are, in this digital age, we are blessed because there's so many platforms available that we can learn from without having to sit with someone. And I think...
How do I maneuver? Sorry to come in there. How do I maneuver that digital space and find myself a mentor, find people to follow? Because I do know a lot of young people love musicians and celebrities and gossip. What advice would you say there?
I think, for me, my advice would be, first, I think identify who are the businesses that you admire. Who are the businesses that you like? So do you like Nike? Do you like Apple? Do you like Discovery Health? Do you like BMW? Or whatever those brands are, right? And then when you know the businesses that you admire, then you ask who runs those businesses? Who are the people leading those businesses? So you then know, I like Nike or I like Disney. And Disney, who is the CEO, Bob Iger? Who is the marketing executive? Who is the people? And then I think with shortly you are able to have a plethora of people that you look at and that you can be able to learn from. And so you need to be able to like and spaces that you admire, and people and individuals in businesses that you admire, in categories that you want to work within, and in countries that you want to participate in. I find that has been very helpful to me, is that just copious amount of reading. And I have to say, and I love seeing your shelf behind you, and even just behind me here, I have a huge books. As entrepreneurs, we have to read, we have to be scholars, we have to read copious amounts of books from other people that we agree with, we disagree with, we don't like. And there's so many amazing things you learn, from that process. So where do you get, how do you get to find your way around that? Just channel what your passion is and the businesses that that you admire, and start from there.
I like that. Guys, he's talking about reading. You go to all the best entrepreneurs or the most successful entrepreneurs, trust me, everybody's got a library. I never used to have a library. I used to have like tons and tons of music. But as I've grown up, I understood the importance of reading. I used to hate reading, but right now I'm an avid reader. So the advice that Sylvester is talking about, not only if you want to become a businessman or an entrepreneur, but if you just want to become smarter in your mind, you want to make better decisions, you just want to become a better person, work on yourself. As I always say, Sylvester is saying, read. Talking about reading, you've got a brand new book. Let's talk about your brand new book.
Yes, the book.
Can I see it? Do you have it? I haven't bought your book yet, and I want to be honest. I don't want to lie, but I did say to Farai after this interview, I said to her first, I'm going to tell him that I haven't bought the book yet. But then after this interview, I'm going to buy the book, I'm going to read the book, and then a little bit later, in a few weeks down the line, when it's got 1 hour, I'd like to invite him to sit down with camera so we can unpack the book. Let's talk about the book.
Yeah. The book actually is called Stand Against Bland, and it's almost a philosophy that I stumbled upon and picked up and used it in my life and my career to be able to really make a difference in my own world. And it came as a result of many, many questions that I received from young people, particularly people that I wanted to get into the advertising and brand space. And they used to ask me, on social media every day, how did you start? Where did you work? How did you get in? How did you send your CV? How did you manage to find your voice in that market? How were you accepted as a gay man in a corporate environment? There's so many of those kind of questions that came, and the book was such a good way of being able to put all those answers in a concise manner, in a nice story that helps to be able to make people understand how I got to where I got to. And I think that the feedback has been phenomenal, because the point of the book was, get to make people just see things a little bit differently, and for them to be able to stand against bland. The book is available. Someone's asking where's the book. It's available at Exclusive Books, at CNA, at Amazon, on all key bookstores, and we are trying to ensure that even during the lockdown, more people can get access to the book. It was an amazing journey writing the book. I got to learn so much, and I got to really think a lot about why I do what I do, and an appreciation of it as well.
That is incredible, Brian. Let's talk about recommending books for youngsters that are watching right now. What books can you recommend? And I don't want us to just strictly speak to entrepreneurs, because I do know majority of people who are watching, they're probably not entrepreneurs, but they would love to become successful one day. Or maybe some, they already are, but they'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, I have, in fact, I've got a couple of books which are on my almost on all the shelves I have in my bookshelf. I have a shelf that is like the books I live by, the books that I have changed my life. And a couple of them, which I'm going to start with, the first one is this one. It's called The Seat of the Soul.
Oh, wow. Who is that by?
Gary Zukav.
Okay, what is it about?
Gary Zukav is actually about, why are you here? What drives you? What excites you? Why do you feel alone? How can you manage not feeling alone? The world. So it actually, for me, it changed my life. And I've read this book over 10 times because I believe in it so much. It has inspired me to know that I'm part of something bigger. I'm just not working on my own, but I'm here to do something a lot more, and to add to the community of people. It's an amazing book. I also have got this book here. This is a book by Pieter Vundla. It's called Doing Time. If you are in the advertising industry, particularly, it's about the very first Black-owned agency to be created in South Africa. And it goes back in history, just before our democracy, and an agency that was operating in that time. An amazing read, because that also contextualized that I'm not here doing the job alone, but I'm also taking the baton from people like Pieter Vundla, who have started and who did things way before me. I mean, I have a lot of books.
Let me come in there. Let me just come in there to add some useless information. For those who don't know, Ntate Pieter Vundla is brother to Ntate Mfundi Vundla, and his business partner at the time at a company called Head Boys Entertainment, which is what Sylvester is talking about. I think it was in Sunny Hill or something. They were the first Black guys to start a Black-owned agency. But interesting, useless information that I should add there is that agency, their story was the reason why Generations started. Generations, the soapy, was about that agency.
It was built on that story.
Okay, continue.
In fact, I mean, I am very happy to put on a list of all the books that I think are key. I can send that to you so they can put on a platform. But there's so many books. And this other book here is actually quite stunning. It's called A Sprat to Catch a Mackerel. It's actually by Raymond Ackerman, the founder of Pick and Pay, Ackerman's and all those businesses. I actually read this book before I became an entrepreneur. I was just working at Nando's, and I bought this book working for a company, and I learned so much about business and the 4 key areas one needs to focus on when they build their business. And he talks about the 4 legs of a table, that every business must have the 4 legs. And those 4 legs are what I actually, when I started the business, I actually used the learnings from this book to be able to build the foundation for the business. An amazing book. Can I tell you about what I'm reading now?
Please do.
Right now, I'm reading the Stellenbosch Mafia.
Oh, yeah. I've read about that book as well. I don't have it yet, yeah?
I would recommend that you get this book. Not only will it tell you and give you some good history you need to know about some of the top 10 businesses and listed companies in South Africa, but you also get to see the power that Afrikaans people put behind supporting each other in building what we currently have right now. Since from 1938 to 1940s, Toit said, I want the Afrikaner community to thrive, and I will support Afrikaans businesses, because then Afrikaans businesses were not even strong at all. They were not playing in business. They were farmers. They were not in business. And he helped to start these businesses that we now see all over the JSE, all over our fridges, our homes, our bank accounts and all of that. It is a riveting read, and I'm in it, and I've underlined so many things because I'm learning so much from this book. I highly recommend it.
So what I'm going to do, guys, when we're done with this interview, we're going to edit it, and it's going to be out. When is it going to be up? Let me put him under pressure, and he must tell me the answer in front of you guys. When is it going to be up on YouTube? Tomorrow. So tomorrow lunchtime, this video will be up on YouTube. Sylvester is going to send me the list of all those books, guys. I'm going to put it in the description page of the YouTube video. So we'll put in all those books there and all the links where you can buy them online.
That's right. And in fact, I think someone just asked me who's the author. It's Pieter du Toit. Pieter du Toit is the author of Stellenbosch Mafia. I think every black man and woman must read this book. It gives us context to why our economy is what it is, and why we are not big players on the economy as black-owned businesses. And I think that's really the challenge we are facing, is we're not active enough in the economy to make a difference. We just consume, and we need to change that. And you and I know that with your business, it's been a big thing to drive that, to change the mindset of ownership of businesses that can operate. And I know that you always use Coca-Cola as an example. And I remember the video of you were standing at the West Bank and you were having Coca-Cola behind you, and you're saying, this Coca-Cola behind me, I wanna be after these guys, and it's amazing, because what you're doing is exactly in what we need to be doing, to have products and services that are owned by black people, so we can also have a Soweto Mafia that's owning.
Yeah, why not? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it all starts here, Sylvester, hey?
Yeah.
Which is what I want us to talk about. I think when we started our interview, how many more minutes do we still have? What time is it, bro? Correct. Oh, we're still fine. We still have time. But 15 more minutes. I wanted to say to you, I
think you were saying it starts with the mind.
When we started our interview, we spoke about meditation, etc. I want to stay with you. I just want you to talk, unpack the mind and what you understand about the mind, and why young people need to understand the importance of what they put in here. And obviously, when you put things in your eyes, it's also through the taste, the food that you eat, the ears, things you listen to, just the environment that you surround yourself with. And I'd like for you to unpack a little bit more as far as the mind is concerned, because that is the most important tool that the other races have oppressed us as black people. They dealt with our minds, right?
Yes. They actually did deal with our minds, and it's taking so much longer for us to really reorganize that, that mind. And I have to say, I always say this: when you step out of your house, or when you get online, on Twitter, for example, the amount of hate that is directed at black people, by black people and by everyone else, it is intense. So at some point, you need to be able to know when to tap into what's good, to kind of know what's happening out in the country. But you also need to be able to feed yourself with things that are inspiring and exciting and positive and building. And I think that, for me, I know that I'm surrounded by incredible amounts of men and women who think positively. And I also then follow those people, and I align with those individuals, and I read books that allow me to expand my mind. Because if I don't do that, all I'm going to be seeing are all the negatives. The economy is bad. Black people can't run businesses. Black people are not good leaders. No companies can be listed on the Joburg Stock Exchange that are black and on the top 100 or top 10 or top 50 or whatever. There's so many things that is against us as we step out. And so our job is to really find a way to excite our minds of the possibilities of good work and good things that come out of black people in the world, because we are seeing it. And I think that if we don't do that, then we run the risk of also falling in line with, the fact that the black race is forever a race that has to be working for a white man all our lives, that we can't create our own products. We have to be consuming products all the time, that black people, don't build good products and services. So we always have to purchase services of white-owned businesses. And I think it takes a lot of work to be able to change that. And it means that on a daily basis, we also need to be feeding our minds of things that are important. And I'm sorry, I also don't want to be controversial, but maybe I will be just for 2 seconds, is that I know that, there are channels and shows that are trending every day about, weddings and cheating men and women, and we go to those platforms and we consume all of that so much, and we don't go and also watch documentaries about how Disney was built, how Apple was built, documentaries that help us to learn things that grow us. So we have to balance out. We have to laugh, but we also have to go back and be serious.
And I like that, and I love what you're saying, and I love everything. I want us to be more practical now, because immediately and I want you to link it with that meditation, that conversation we had when we started this interview. What are some of the things that I must immediately do if I want to start changing my mindset? First advice, before I give it to you, my advice to all of you young people, stop watching TV. That's my first thing. What are you going to say? I'm not going to get mad at me.
I know, you are going to have a huge challenge. I think, for me, I think you need to take stock of you and your life and where you are. I think that's so important. So you sit in your room, when you sit in your veranda, and you have to ask yourself, who do I surround myself with? Who are my friends? Number one. Because I find that the friendship circle is critical as well in supporting you with your dreams and your positive things that are happening in your life. So I think that, number one, you can see individuals around you and around your life, but there are people that just are not going to add value to you, and they're not really interested in growth. So it's all about drinking and partying and music and all of that. But where are your friends who says, what are you reading? What book are you reading right now? What can we do together? Can we go to a seminar? Can we go listen to other things? So find yourself people that are interested in growing and in being better. I think that's quite important. Number two, you have to write things down. What do you want to achieve with your life? What do you want to achieve? Write it down. Write your dreams down. put them down. And I think, I've been very relentless from when I was 16 years old. I write everything down. I write my dreams. I write them down in a good book, not in a piece of paper. You must write in a journal, in a book that you can keep and that you can always go back to and refer. I think write things down, and that's good. The third thing I'd say, talk to yourself. I do that all the time. People think I'm mad, but when I'm alone, I talk about my dreams. I speak to myself and I say, "Hey, Sly, how you doing? How are things? I'm looking forward to this future. I'm excited about this future." I talk to myself like a mad person, but because I want to put those words out there so I can hear them and I can believe them, and that helps much in terms of that. And I think for me, those things are key. And the last thing is, what are you going to do about it? So you've written the dreams down. You speak to yourself about them all the time when you're walking in the streets. And I used to walk in the streets in Soweto talking about, I want to work somewhere and I want a car.
Same here. You remember the Discman? I used to have a Discman. I used to be DJ Sbu before I was DJ Sbu.
Yes.
Like, yo, man, what's up? This is DJ Sbu.
That's right. And you know what I used to do as well was I used to take, the tabloids, the advertising packs that used to arrive, in the township with Mackerel and Dion and all that, and houses. And I used to take them, and I used to take a calculator and say, I'm going to buy a few things today. And I would take a calculator and I'll buy fridge, 10,000 rand, plasma screen. And I used to just do that because dreaming and putting it out there is good. But the last point is, what are you going to do about it? So you've dreamt, you speak to yourself like you're a mad person, but you've written it down. So what are you going to do about it? So if you want to be a good DJ, what are you going to do about it? Where are you going to go? Who are you going to talk to? Who are you going to follow? So I would start by, I think for me it always boils down to everyone wants to be great. Everyone wants to be DJ Sbu. Everybody wants that, but not everybody is actually necessarily doing the work to get there. We dream about things, but we don't want to work for them, and we don't want to, put the hard work behind them. And there's so many more, but I would end there.
No, there's always time, and I like that. I like that we are unpacking for young people. Guys, I hope you're enjoying the content. We've got about less than 10 more minutes to go. I've got Sylvester Chauke, entrepreneur. He's now become a best-selling author. He travels the world. He speaks at some amazing, prestigious institutions and platforms. And he's got accolade after accolade after accolade in what he's doing. He's very humble. He doesn't even name drop. But if you can start name dropping, you'll understand the caliber of the person we're speaking to. And I'd like to encourage all of you young people to follow Sylvester on his social media. Follow his journey. And not only Sylvester, what he was saying is so essential that when you start following people on social, you need to have a spring cleaning of your social media. You need to start unfollowing all those girls that are busy jiving like this. And you need to start working. I know it sounds like a joke, but true. Because these algorithms of these social media platforms, the more you watch something, the more they show you that. You know what I mean? You can't be following slave queens only, and then Instagram is going to pop up and show you information about McDonald's or Disney. They're not going to do that. So you are basically digging yourself deeper into the rabbit hole when you are watching or when you are following nonsense accounts. And I just wanted to say that.
I think so, because ultimately there's a thing that happens. So you wake up in the morning and then you are on your social media, and then you go into Instagram, and the minute you then go into it, then you start following so many things, and you start seeing so many messages, and the feed goes on. And generally, for me, because it starts the day, also if it's all like gym bunnies and all the stuff that is just like sexy bodies and all of that alone, it also sets up your day in that way. So I also want to see inspirational quotes. I want to see good interviews. I want to see in the morning things that keeps me also inspired to say, hey, you know what, I better get out of bed because I want to go and do this thing and I want to go and make that money or whatever it is. So it's a balancing act. I think, like I said, we must have fun and we must enjoy social media, but we must also know when to feed our minds and our souls so that we can actually be better as people.
Now you've done really great at such a young age. I can only imagine where you're going. That's why I really believe that the kids that we're giving birth to right now, those are the kids that are going to become trillionaires, because that's where the world is going with technology. And I've got no doubt that somebody like you is not only going to become a business leader, you're going to become a billionaire. You're going to become a very wealthy person. Now, let's talk about money. I want you to unpack a little bit more about your relationship with money before you got into business as a young person, and how has that evolved? How have you grown over the years? So you're going to first talk about you, your relationship about money, and then I want you to unpack it properly just to sort of give advice to, especially my passion is always young people, on some of the things that you've done that you don't think they should do, advice as far as the relationship with money is concerned.
I think I have to say that, money relationships go back to how we grow up as young people. And I will speak, for myself. In my home, money was a simple act of my father used to wake up in the morning, was a 5 a.m. team. And they would, go and work. And my mother, and my mother had stopped working at some point, and my dad gave us money, and then the money wasn't divided up into groceries and school and taxi fare and all of that stuff. And so I've always seen money as a conduit to which life can happen. So it is my dad's contribution to the family that allows for things to happen, allows for us to have a home and. So growing up, I knew that money is very important, and that money and having money allows for you to be able to do the things that money allows you to do, which is actually important, because I remember one time where my dad did not give my mother the money. We wake up in the morning, my mother can't give me my taxi fare, so I have to now think about, okay, how am I going to get to school, And I realized then that if without money, it is literally difficult to live, and it's impossible to get to do what you got to do. So that almost built within me a sense of appreciation and love for money. And my husband makes fun of me sometimes because I count every cent. I have a jar of like 50 cents coins and 1 rand coins, and I'm a mad person, Yeah. And the other day, he was laughing at me. He said, "Are you counting your?" I said, "Yes, I was counting my money, because I love how money feels in my hands, and I love how money sounds when it gets into into the account and because I know what it means." And I think for me, an appreciation of keeping money is something that I had to learn much later on in life, because growing up, I used to have the money and I used to spend the money, and if I had the money, I'd buy something. I'd buy something for the house. I'd buy new music and things like that. And over time, I've appreciated not spending the money, but I'm now appreciating keeping the money. But it's something we learn much later on. So if you are younger now, don't be like Sbu and I. Don't just spend the money, but learn how to keep the money and give yourself kudos and pat yourself on the back for saving more than just spending, because that is something that has been profound in my lesson. And now I think keeping money and growing money is something that is very important for me right now. Yes.
Second last question before I let you go. Some young people think I literally have to have the money. I need to keep stacking up my money for me to become rich. I always need money. I want you to unpack a little bit about how credit can help them and how important it is for them to keep a good credit score.
Yes, I think, all of us, I remember the minute I started getting access to a credit application, and in fact, it was just after getting my first, my first part-time job, and now you have ability to be able to lend money or to get credit. From so I had an Edgar's account and I bought myself a Swatch watch and I was so happy. And then I got myself a Levi jean for the first time. I was like,
yeah, you remember Levi Edgar's those days?
I know it was Levi jeans. I got myself a CK top. I got myself a Tommy Hilfiger cologne. And so over time, I had indebted myself so much as a young person. I was owing Edgar's more than what I could afford because it was available on credit. Now, this is the difference. Being able to play in credit is important for a young person. So it's important for us to know how to have credit, to pay it, and so you can learn how to be able to to drive yourself. So that when you are growing and when you are grown later on, you have a good credit score. But what most young people do is that they almost don't look at their credit score when they're younger. It's almost later on in life they start looking at it, and by then I think that you've probably missed out on a couple of opportunities to be able to then become a client or a bank holder who can be able to command money from a bank. So I guess what I'm saying is that it's so important for us to be credit active and for us to have credit and to pay it off, but it's to keep us active in the network. But we mustn't, because you've got 10,000 rand credit available at Edgar's, it doesn't mean that we must now spend all that credit available at Edgar's because it's available. If you've got a credit card with 5,000 rand on it, it doesn't mean that it must all be spent. It's also our ability to manage it and to keep it in there and to look at our, I suppose, liquidity in parts.
You're totally correct, because that gentleman over there, Robert Kiyosaki, in one of his books, he talks about the only time over the years he's used credit is to acquire more property. So he doesn't say no when he pays the bank well so that his credit score is good, just like you guys. When you own Toit or Woolworths or Edgar's, make sure you pay them well so you don't end up getting judgments on the ITC. So he pays the Kolota shop, and then what he does, the banks offer him more credit. He does not say it's credit to the credit. He takes the credit and acquire more assets that bring back the money in. So we take the credit and then we are spending on liabilities again.
Yes, exactly. I mean, there are important, like a house, for an example, is property. So you can focus on those kind of areas to say, if you're going to be getting debt, it is actually on things that can help you in the future. But it's not necessarily on a leather jacket that is expensive or a watch that's expensive or shoes. Because I think sometimes it's not necessary, particularly at a young age. But we know that I was young as well. I knew that I also wanted to feel like I'm also not like a poor child, I also wanted to feel like got a rock, but I have to say that by learning from others, I've also learned to see where wealth actually lies, and it definitely lies in the ability to be able to get credit and to get good credit and be able to build bigger things with that credit.
My last thing I'm going to say quickly to Sylvester, go listen to a Jay-Z song from the album called 444. Listen to a song called OJ. There's a line where he says, and that's like jams. Now, with that one line, he's giving you 1,000 books. He says, do you want to know how Jews got in control of New York and bought up all these buildings? And then he says credit. Thank you, Sylvester.
It's credit. And I'd like to thank you so much for everyone who's tuned in. And thank you, brother, for being the light, being unashamedly so, a billionaire in construction.
You already know.
I mean, we already know. And going against and after the Coca-Colas of this world, the big players, it is, through you, we see it and we're inspired, and many young people are going to just have a much better future because of it. I appreciate you and I love you so much, Sbu, for everything that you do.
Sylvester, I love you too, my brother. I'm inspired by you. I'm inspired by how you carry yourself. I always use you as an example to a lot of people around the importance of taking yourself seriously first, so that everything else that you do around you, is going to shine. And you've just been that shining light of young people that came in from the bottom with nothing, and for you to be running your own business. And I think for you to see that a business is not only just thriving, but it looks after its people. You look at the people. When you see the people, then when you see people that work at Sylvester's company, he doesn't even, working refer to them as his employees because they're all a team. But you can already, it's like they all own that company. It's like everybody is a shareholder, And I guess it says a lot about your business ethos and what you guys represent. You are so amazing. Continue inspiring us. Mina, I for one, you inspire me, and I can't wait for those days when we are older and we're talking about all these things and how we built them. And thank you for documenting your journey as well. We want you to keep on writing more books. So thank you very much, Sylvester.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And Farai said I must say hello as well, yeah?
Of course, Farai, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been Sylvester Chauke. If you want to watch this video or all the other videos that we've done with the likes of Mr. Lebu Kumbuluza, Abu Farai, and all the other interviews that I've done, they are up on our YouTube page, which is called The Hustler's Corner Podcast. The Hustler's Corner Podcast. Check out the interviews, subscribe, share, let other people know that we've got some dope content on the podcast. It literally started about 3-4 months ago, but the podcast is already on 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and it's growing like crazy. I want you guys to go and subscribe. And thank you very much, Sylvester. If you missed this video, it'll be edited. It's going to be up on the YouTube with all those books that Sylvester recommended on the description page at the bottom of this video on The Hustler's Corner SA. That's the podcast you should subscribe to on YouTube. The video will be ready by 12 midday tomorrow. Have a great evening, bro, yeah?
Thank you so much. Take care.
Sylvester Chauke. Have a great evening, guys. I've got nothing but love. Tonight, we do these because we want to inspire you. We want to encourage you. We want you guys to be better than us. We want you guys are already better than us, because I'm 40 years old. I see people who are like 27, 28. Some of the things they speak, I've never even heard them. And I'm always being schooled by people who are younger than me, because they're always yearning for more knowledge, and they're using technology to benefit them. You saw some of the books that Sylvester was recommending there. Sylvester reads. You can see there's books behind me. I read. Some of the greatest entrepreneurs that you look up to, they read. Your ministers, your politicians, even your parents. I'm sure a lot of you guys, your parents read, and they're always encouraging you about reading. And yeah, it's something you always hear, but because you always hear it, like, it becomes so numb to it. I also used to be the same. But as times went by, I used to be a very big fan of just listening to music in Jalo. But then I started understanding that, because they're always blowing me away with information that I don't know. And even my command of the English language and my vocabulary was poor, and then that's when I started going in on reading. And for me, it started easy. And for those who also want to start reading, you know that it's good for you, but you're lazy to read, but you want to do it. The easiest way to get into it is audiobooks. So get into audiobooks. The more and more you get interested in audiobooks, the more other books reference other books. And the more you start looking for other books and you can't find the audio versions, it drives you to go buy the actual book. And then the more inspired you become and the more knowledge you get, the more you want to learn, the more you want to do something. It's like peanuts. Now I one so funny. Incwadi zinjalo, especially if you start with a good book, then uzolobe ufuna ukufunda incwadi eziningi. So ngicela ukuthi nifunde yena arkelezemba fethu, arkelezemba usbarona, arwenkren, arqale impinisterona, arqale indicide hasele, arncane ndi advice elengor diyasebenza, ama advice ukuthi azosebenzela. Don't just take advice yomuntu kanti wena ngeke kusebenzele. But I also want you to put into action the information that you get from people like Sylvester. Go put it into action in your own way. Don't just do everything that everybody tells you to do. You need to remember, most of their advices, everybody, all of us, our advices are mostly based on our own lives and our own experiences. So see how it works for you. Not everything that we say you should put into practice in your own life, but try and put those things that you think they make sense, or that information that you think makes sense. Sylvester spoke about meditating. Sylvester spoke about reading. Sylvester spoke about he used to catch a taxi to go to Rosebank to go for auditions and castings. And that's how I started. I used to climb taxis, go for auditions, because I wanted to be on TV. My first break also was a commercial. His first break was also a commercial. I mean, I got a commercial at Tez. He says was what a Nando's ad, ne? He said he got a Nando's commercial. Back to school or CNA. He said he got a CNA back to school campaign. My one was a Tez. Some of you guys who are older, I don't know if you remember back in the day, a Toyota Tez that picks up somebody who's wearing a chicken suit. It's like a chicken. There's a chicken suit, and I forgot what the other guy was wearing. But anyway, that was my first commercial. And then from there on, I started doing other commercials, started acting, I started doing dramas. Then I got on radio, I got on presenting, and then the rest is history. And I'm who I am today. But I'm literally just like what Sylvester was saying. We all start small. We all get into that taxi. We all have a vision. We all have dreams. He also shared about how he always keeps a diary. He says he's been writing since he was a teenager. The importance of writing, guys, is that the information that you write gets embedded in your head. The writing part is very important. It's like even with the affirmations. Affirmations, you need to write them with your own pen. I want you to go to... I guess the episode is finished. Maybe I'll share with them tomorrow. Where is Crushing It? Gary Vaynerchuk's book. Crushing It. Where is it, bro? Isn't it there on that other library? It's yellow. It's this yellow. It's like this. It's written Crushing It. Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. It's written Gary V. No, Gary Vaynerchuk, the full name. Damn it. Okay, because time is gone, let me share with you guys tomorrow, but there's just some great things I wanted to share from that book, some amazing gems that Gary V drops. Have a great evening. We're on again tomorrow, 7 p.m. We're on 7 p.m. weekdays every day, live here. But we're going to be migrating to YouTube very soon. Oh, yeah. It's already late. It's already after 8. Let me not waste too much of their time anymore. Let me get them to come back tomorrow. 7 o'clock in the evening tomorrow. I love you guys very much. I want to see you guys succeed. I want you guys to be those presenters, those DJs, those actors, those millionaires, those presidents, and those doctors and lawyers. We really, really, really care about you guys. We love you so much. We don't want money from you. We just want to give you as much wisdom as possible. And when we get out of our homes and we go hustle, we're not just hustling on our own to make money and build our businesses, but we always have you guys in mind. And we hope you guys are learning. And I know not everybody will put into practice all of this information we share, but because we care about you, we want you guys to try, because you can see the pit hole that we are in as Black people. So we all have to pull our strength. We all have to do what we can to help out our brothers and sisters out there. So I appeal to those ones who are in the same position as me, who've got homes and who've done well with themselves, with their lives, or what is so-called the middle class, as they would call us or classify us. Let's do something, man, for the good, you know? We can't just be fishing ourselves in these suburbs and just focusing on our own kids. There's like other kids out there who don't even have a plate to eat, you know? Let's come up with programs. Let's do things to go and empower the hood. You know, yesterday I was so honored to speak to the legendary, great, amazing Dr. Cindy Trim. I was on the phone with Dr. Cindy Trim for an hour yesterday, and she was in Atlanta, in Georgia, in the U.S. And one of the things she said to me, she said, so how we were oppressed was through systematic racism, the system. So as somebody's giving you advice who's an elder, and I've walked the journey that you are walking, I'm older, and me, I'm a minister, I'm a God's person, but at the same time, I'm an entrepreneur. She's worth millions and millions of dollars. So if you think TD Jakes, you think for females, or a female version of TD Jakes, you'd say Dr. Cindy Trim. That's an arguable fact, though. But yeah, she's done extremely well for us. I'll go Google her. But anyway, what I wanted to say was that she said to me, so everything that you're doing has to be not only just long-term, but it has to be systematic, yeah. It has to be systematic, because me, I'm a strategist, and how I think and how I look at the long term, then I put together the strategy. And young people like you, Sbu, who've got the energy, who've got the love of the continent, who've got the understanding of how to maneuver those corners of Africa, then you guys come and plug into the strategy and you guys run because you've got the energy. But people like us who are elders, we want to encourage you youngsters to not only just run and hustle where you don't know where you're going. It's like you're leaving the house and you don't know where you're driving to. You just keep driving around it. But if you know where you're driving to, you just drive there in a few minutes and then you're there. It's the same thing with life. When you know where you're going, you're not going to waste too many years of your life just jigga-jigging and rounding and just doing this snaps. Once you've got a vision, the vision then, but you know, the vision dictates the type of life that you're going to live for you to get there. So a lot of the times when they say, write down your goals and dreams and vision, they're saying it must be there so that you always see it, because the end goal is the one that, so you work backwards. The end goal is the one that determines the type of person that goes to that goal. So for instance, I'll make you one example. Say, there's a party tonight and I do know that I've got an exam to write in 3 days. In my mind, I know that I want that degree. And I know there's an exam in a few days. But right now I'm faced with niceness and it's a party. What do I do? Do I go to the party and say, I'll study later? Or do I consistently be disciplined enough to always focus on things that are aligned with where I'm taking my vision? And that's what I do. If it does not serve Leadership 2020, it does not serve our foundation, which is a nonprofit that helps people. If it does not serve Mafia, our beverage company, if it does not serve Massive Metro, our radio station, if it does not serve Local Flame or the Hustlers Academy, I can't be a part of it. If it's not helping people out there, if it's not empowering people, I can't be a part of it. Trust me, if you can ask my manager, she'll tell you, I've said no to monies. And I know sometimes if I can say, and it's not like I would say no because I've got money. No, I would say, I don't mind saying no to Imali, like this Zumbu Semali, because it requires me to do certain things that are not me and that are going to compromise my integrity. So sometimes I just say no. Learn to be that type of person as well. Work on your relationship with money, and we'll keep sharing all of these information and bringing all these great people every evening at 7 o'clock to inspire you. Have a great evening. Good night. Thank you.
He's a hustler, unbreakable, a people's person, and a future billionaire. This is the Hustler's Corner with Sbu, well known to you and I as DJ Sbu.